Hi there, my name is Stefani Garises and I am here to talk about careers. Basically what happens is that people reach out to me and they're like, well, look, you seem to be doing really well in your career. Can you give me some advice? I'd really like to get into data, I'd like to get into technology. How do I do it? Where do I start? What does this look like? And I'm just like, I do address those things too, but I thought today would be a great opportunity to simply talk about careers and what those could look like. Because every generation is dealing with a completely different set of problems. Some problems just perpetuate throughout time, but other problems they're unique to the times that we're in. In fact, old problems have new variations. Basically, the point I'm trying to make here is that whatever advice I can give you about a career, I want it to be sustainable. I want this video to be relevant regardless of whether you're looking at it today, whether you're looking at it in 10 years, whether you're looking at it in 50 years, right? Okay, 50 years is a bit of a stretch. We have no idea what the world is going to look like. And then I want to make it so generalized and so abstract that you could apply it during any time in life. I recently went to this conference. It was actually not really a conference. It was more like a get-together, a gathering of engineering professionals. The topics of discussion varied from like, how does a career in data look like, vibe coding, geospatial analytics, a couple of relevant topics to the crowd to cater for people who are just getting into it, people who've been in it, and people who are just like ancient in it. not like in a bad way, just like that's the level of mastery and experience that they've had. One of the topics that came up was, what is this concept of a T-shaped career? You might have heard of this concept, and it really is just talking about, well, you are a deep specialist in one thing, but you have fundamental knowledge about the things surrounding that thing. So for example, if I'm a data engineer, but I have a general understanding of all other things that are going on in data, like data governance, data architecture. Well, as part of a data engineer, you kind of need to know data architecture. And you also know about data analytics and data science, but you're not necessarily a specialist in those things, but you're aware of them enough that you know how to interoperate with them quite easily. So there's an awareness. Whereas if you were having an I-shaped career, you're literally just a deep specialist in what you know, and that's about it. That's your thing, that's what you do, everybody understands it, let's move on. You're not bothering to kind of look outside of that specialism and be like, oh, what's happening over here, what's happening over there, how does that relate to my thing? It's more like, how can I get super good at this one thing, and that's it, that's all I want. So if you're that kind of a person, good for you. There's no right or wrong here. It's just the different types of careers. And the reason why I want to share this is because growing up, I didn't necessarily have all of this information about what's possible in terms of careers and how you can shape them and structure them towards your own wants and desires and goals and vision. So today we're going to talk through a couple of these shapes, and I'm going to talk to you about my shape that I'm designing, I'm crafting, because I'm a very stubborn person sometimes. Like, I don't like to just take what's been put in front of me and be like, oh, okay, that's everything, cool, let me just go. No, it's more like, why should I? Like, why that? Why like that? What if I do it like this? What if I do it like that? Like, my mind is just like that. Like, I can't help it. I question everything. Even things that sometimes don't need to be questioned. That's neither here nor there. We deal with it. Let's start again at the I, and we'll work our way through to an M, and then I'll take you through how I'm designing my career. Like I mentioned, the I is a specialist. You're deeply focused in getting through the maturity levels. Let's talk about it like this. Let's say that we have a couple of different maturity levels, and this is like an imaginary maturity scale or model. You can reference some maturity models like the CMMI, and there should be others, but the CMMI is the one I'm most familiar with. Let's say that you're starting that there's like 4 levels. First level is beginner, second level is intermediate, third level is advanced, and the fourth level is expert, right? Expert/master. We'll call it expert. Pretty much what you're doing when you are pursuing this I is that you're starting at a beginner and you're progressing all the way until you get all the way to the expert level. And then you just kind of in expert mode. That's like continuous development, continuous improvement, right? You're on the cutting edge. You're part of the research, probably. You're probably shaping that area. That's what the maturity model looks like. If you consider that model, an I is literally just you going across all those levels in one domain, right? So if we take the I and we flip it and we cut it up into sections, it's got 4 sections. It's the beginner, the intermediate, the advanced, and the expert. Okay? Happy. Now, professions needed to communicate. How does a deep expert in this area and a deep expert in that area communicate if they're not looking outside of their area? So you started needing that hybrid person, that bridge, that person that understands a little bit about this, a little bit about that, enough to help them communicate and facilitate that collaboration so that we can make better advancements in life, as a civilization. And that's where the T-shaped career started becoming popular. This is like kind of paraphrasing and based on my own experience and what I've known and what I've read. And I'll give you actual academic references for people who study this stuff, and you can go through that. For me, I don't feel it's the need to go that deep. I just want to introduce you to the concept of the shape of a career. The T individual is now a deep expert in one thing, but is aware of the other things that are happening around their domain. You could be a T expert if you are a data scientist, but you're also aware of data governance and data management and data engineering and data architecture, or data visualization. Some of that stuff, depending on what kind of data scientist you are and in what context, you will be doing it as part of your I expertise, but other roles don't. So you might be just really, really good with your quantitative rigor and you're just doing feature engineering and optimization problems the whole time. But you need to have a bit of an idea of engineering and governance and how data comes into your space so that you're able to optimize, right? And I'll continue using data references just because that's like the field that I'm in. Then you have something that is called the pi career. So you know that pi symbol in mathematics? It's like you have 2 deep specialisms and then you still have that breadth of knowledge, that breadth of awareness. That could look like I am a deep technical data engineer, but I'm also a deep technical data scientist. So I can really like craft hypotheses and experiments and come up with that stuff really well. And I can also create or engineer the platforms that move the data around and transform it in the ways that I need it to be transformed, whether that's real-time data, batch data, structured, unstructured, whatever, right? Like I'm a real deep expert in both things. And then I'm broadly aware again of the other things around data, like data strategy, data governance, data architecture, data management, all of that stuff. And mind you, the T doesn't have to be in your own in the domain of your specialism. It could be in other domains. Like you could be a data scientist and then you have broad fundamental or foundational knowledge about finance or risk management. It's not like strict like that or anything. We've gone through the I, we've gone through the pi, we've gone through the T as well. You kind of see the pattern, the I to the T to the pi. You can start adding more deep specialisms, or you can start adding more breadth of knowledge, right? So if you imagine a top layer and a bottom layer going across like a capitalized I, then you have, for example, like maybe you've got governance going across the top. You're very aware of governance in principle, what it is like in organizations or private organizations, public organizations, specific instances, specific types of projects, specific types of organizations. Then you could have something at the bottom, which is like your quantitative rigor, thematics, like you're just hardcore with your quantitative analysis. It just varies. If you go from I to T to pi, you can also find yourself having an M-shaped career. And M is really just like you kind of have 2 deep specialisms, and then you kind of go to, let's say, intermediate level with another 1 or 2 domains, rather than going all the way to expert level. So you don't want to be an expert in everything. And you can also decide the depth to which you want to be knowledgeable in any area. That obviously can just take on a life of its own. And my goal here is to show you that you can actually you can create your own shapes, your own career shapes. And that's what I've been doing. The shape I came up with, I guess, is best described by W. I'm still kind of refining what levels of depth I want to have with each one of my streams, and I'll show you guys on screen as well, like what that looks like. I basically have 4 pillars, and I have like a ceiling and a floor. I want to be the kind of data professional that is having my skills underpinned by my quantitative rigor. The reason is my experience has been that every time I start to get to a more advanced level of a data problem, I need to start relying more on my conceptual understanding of like mathematics and applied statistics, and it just makes it easier to think through problems and think about edge cases and plan for that and design tests and things like that. When you start getting into governance and quality, that stuff becomes super important. And as you can probably tell with the way AI is going on, governance and quality assurance is like super crucial. If you know those things, you're sorted in life. Typically, you need to be able to think through the thing conceptually to be able to test whether the physical implementation of that thing is actually going to meet that requirement, right? And it's actually well protected. I believe, and this is my belief, these are all my opinions, that having a really good and strong quantitative foundation will help me be better at all of those things. It'll make more sense when you find out what my other pillars are. So before I go into the pillars that are actually going vertically, let's talk about the top, governance. I've been doing governance, data governance for the past 3 years, data and AI governance. It started off as what I felt was like a punishment, because who wants to do governance? But also I would have had to do something naughty to get a punishment. So not a punishment, more like the type of thing that everybody knows you need to know, but everybody knows nobody really wants to do it. So you kind of have to finesse people into having to do it sometimes, and I was finessed into having to do it, and I've been doing it ever since. I found that it's really valuable because I think about things from a consequence perspective, right? Like a risk management perspective, all the things that can go wrong and all the ways that you can protect these things, these assets, and the way that the data moves throughout your organization from the point where it's collected to the point where it's stored to the point where it's consumed. You need security and governance. You need ownership of that. Real people need to be responsible for this. And those real people need to be organized in specific ways to be able to actually manage that responsibility sustainably for the foreseeable future, right? So that to me is what data and AI governance is about. And that's why it's my top layer. Right now, it's just data governance, but it spreads out into like corporate governance and all kinds of governance and policy and like government, right? So I feel like that's the natural evolution in terms of the governance part for me. Now let's go into the pillars. My pillars are data, risk, technology, and finance. The reason is that these things work hand in hand. As a data professional, I haven't been able to do things without really considering all four of those things. For me, it just makes natural sense to understand finance because ultimately data initiatives get sponsored by a business, and a business sponsors things where they see value. So you need to quantify the value, and that means you need to understand how the business thinks and how the business works, and what's that language, that business language, so you can be able to speak it and translate it into the data terms. Let's say for the data professionals that you'll be leading, because they may not have that that interface with the business to be able to translate the business needs into data form, and vice versa. I've typically had the role of being that bridge person, right? That person that facilitates and enables collaboration, and I do that by listening first, prototyping to get to just confirm whether what I heard is what you mean in terms of a built thing. And then once you confirm that that is what you mean, then I can pass that over to like a technical team and be like, okay, guys, these are the specs. This is the thing that the business wants us to build. This is how it's going to help the business move forward. And this is your contribution to it. It helps me be much more clear in my instructions when I'm delegating and also when I'm coaching and mentoring data professionals. That to me just makes sense. The risk part is obvious. You're trying to avoid certain things. With risk management, you have, I think, about 4 ways to manage risk. You can avoid it, you can accept it, you can mitigate it, or you can manage it. And to avoid it means that you're just not even going to put yourself into that position. You're just going to avoid it altogether. You can manage it, which means that you are aware of it. You're not necessarily doing anything to change it. You're just keeping an eye on it to just make sure that it doesn't get out of hand, right? You can mitigate it, which means that you're putting something, you're taking some kind of action to minimize that risk. You're not just monitoring it, you're actively minimizing that risk. And then accepting it is just like, okay, you've accepted that there's a risk. You're not going to do anything about it. You know about it, you're not managing it, you're not really monitoring, you just accepted that this is how things are. Risk management is a big part of data work, because the type of data you're working with, the reason you're working with that data in the first place, whether you're trying to unlock an opportunity or limit a loss, you literally need to be aware of risk and regulation and how that impacts your business. This is where things like scenario analysis and sensitivity analysis and that kind of stuff starts coming in. And for me, that's interesting. So the last pillar that I didn't really discuss is technology, because all of this stuff happens on technology, that infrastructure piece. You need to build somewhere. You need to build on some kind of platform. I have a background in software development. That's what I studied in school and university. So I'm very well aware of technology. I know how to build it. I know about systems thinking, distributed systems architecture, all that stuff. To me, that was just not the whole picture, and I could already sense it. And so that's why immediately after my degree, I went into data analytics as a career. This stuff, it might sound really well thought out. It's because I have been thinking about it for a long time, but it's always in progress. Right now, I'm looking at that W shape. And the reason why I say it's a W instead of just like pillars between the two lines is that there is a bit of a convergence. And the intention is to converge to quantitative rigor, because understanding things from a mathematical concept, you're able to scope things, determine what's in and out of scope, determine what can and cannot happen, what overlaps are possible, which overlaps are not possible, what's mutually exclusive. If you think through a problem mathematically first and solve it, then by the time you have to start building it with technology, with data, it's just that much easier. I'm not saying that I already do this. I'm saying that this is what I see as valuable based on my experience, my learning, all of this all together. So yeah, that's about it. That's a pretty jam-packed video in the first place. I just wanted to open up your mind to the fact that you have the power to actually shape the kind of career that you want to have, show you how I'm doing it myself as well, honestly, and you can do it right now. You can decide what little bits and pieces you want to kind of mix into your recipe, and what proportions as well. Because what are you trying to make? Are you trying to bake a cake? Are you trying to bake a banana cake? Maybe you like banana cake, but maybe you want to add a bit of cinnamon in there just because you like cinnamon, or you think it's a secret sauce. You literally need to take ownership of your career, and don't let it just be an external input into your subconscious or your plan to be able to say that, oh, you should do this or you should do that. I mean, I'm even telling you, you should do this or you should do that. Take it all with a grain of salt and think about what you like and what you would want your day-to-day to look like. For me, I want my day-to-day to consist of, to be jumping around between thinking about data as a problem, like what data do we need to actually collect, to actually create, to actually address this problem, you know what I mean? And when we collect that data, what systems do we use? How often do we need to collect it? How do we store it? How do we move it to the consumption point? Do we automate everything? Do we only automate parts of it? How do we separate the data, because some data is sensitive and some data is not? How do we make sure the right people have access to it and it's not being abused? That's interesting to me. Risk management, very interesting to me. I think I've been doing it for years and didn't really realize it. I'm an overthinker. I think as women, we are perfect for risk management, especially scenario analysis, because we play through so many possibilities with zero confirmation that it actually is going to happen or not, whatever. But like, we think through things deeply and extensively. And this is pretty much what scenario analysis is about. You think about, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if this and that happens? What if this happens after that? You know what I mean? Like, you need to kind of think about it, the simulations. I find that really, really interesting. Finance is just a necessary evil to me. The world runs on finance, on economies, on money. I might not be a huge fan of money, but like, I need it to pay my bills, to live somewhere, to eat something, to go somewhere. So I need to understand what this thing is, how it works, and how it is being used, and how I can leverage that to my benefit. Technology, it's a given. we're living in a tech world, in a tech age. This is not getting, we're not going to go into a world with less tech, we're going into a world with more technology. I think that's something that everybody simply needs to understand. And I feel like data is the same. But of course, you take it the way you want to take it. These are the reasons why I have chosen the shape that I've chosen. So I would really love to hear about your chosen shape and why you believe that that should be it. This is not like to be judging you or anything. It's just to kind of share ideas, and so that maybe somebody that might be wondering whether that's even something feasible or something, they could try. Maybe you sharing your opinion and your experience about that could kind of inspire that person to pursue that idea that they have. And we can have much more interesting careers going forward, because I feel like I'm very passionate about the work that I do. And so I just want to make sure that I craft my environment, my domain, my expertise, and the expectations around what I will be doing based on what I'm actually interested in, not anything else. This has been cool. This has been the Career Curious podcast. Yeah, share with me what you think a cute shape would be. And it doesn't have to be rigid. It could be fluid. You could add some curves in there, define it however you want. This is just like a reference point, and it'd be really cool to see what colorful and creative kinds of careers you guys can come up with. Please like and subscribe.